So just so I'm certain, could you let us know again his expectations from us? What does he expect from us?
He expects us to learn from childhood as the child that he has given. I mean, when he released us to be as man, he has given birth to us. He created us, like we would say.
Mm-hmm.
So he expects us to learn from being a child to being an adult. From being a child, according to, if we want to use your story of creation, in the Garden of Eden, and then reproducing, creating, making a beautiful place of the world by the knowledge that we gain in him, and ultimately become perfect like him. So all of these other attributes about worshiping and do this, they are just part of life, part of this whole journey.
Okay.
All right. So it will be too tiny to just take one and say this is the specific reason. It's for this whole journey. Exactly like we give birth to children. These things are exactly as it is in the spirit. When you give birth to your own child as a father or as a mother, you want that child to grow and become adult like you, and at least become like you. Hopefully even better than you. But when you get to, we'll talk about better in terms of man, because man is not pure. When you get to the highest level of purity, there's nothing better. So God is already at the highest level of purity. So when you get to that level of purity, there's nothing better again. So I cannot use better for God. So like your child will grow from 1 year to 2 years, goes to all of this, going to school, learning here, joining, all of that whole process, education, then he becomes adult, exactly the same thing. That is what God expects of us. To grow, to learn, to make mistakes, to fall, to rise, to be creative, to be productive, to utilize all the knowledge that we have access to in him to make our world. Well, again, saying to make our world a better place is just be part of this whole journey. At every point in time, our creativity is expected to add value to the world. So that's not the big deal. And ultimately become perfect like him.
Wow. Okay. Now, a lot of us, of course, we want to do the things that please God. We want to make him happy. And then we ask certain things from, just like you said, sometimes when we're asking, it shouldn't be out of selfishness. We should be asking for people. So that's the case where sometimes we ask amiss. That is the reason some prayers do not get answered. Is that the case?
I still don't like this emphasis on prayer.
But that's the topic for today.
Yes. Yes, it's okay. It's okay. Not for you, but for viewers generally. Just gives me the opportunity to emphasize more that as long as the motive of prayer is not self, then it is, because once the motive of prayer is not self, what we're asking the universe is, I wished this situation was corrected to this situation. So you are basically asking, I mean, maybe you do not know, but what you are asking is, can you use me to correct this situation? Can I do this for you? So that is a different view completely from, I want you to do this for me. So when it is about others, you are saying, I would have wished, and there should be many prayers that you would have answered for people, because you have the capacity, you have the capability, you have the resources. But the ones that you cannot answer, these are the ones that you wish nature should use some other means to do something about it. And if nature now decides that, okay, let me use you, usually that is how it works. Usually when you make the suggestion and you say, I wish this was possible, and then if it is seen that your intention is genuine, you really wish, then you'll be used to implement that.
All
So
right.
if your prayer now was, I wished I could build accommodation and put all of these 80 homeless people in that accommodation and just make life easy for them. No, if your prayer, not if your prayer was, I wish something could happen to just provide, just imagination is very powerful. You just imagine that there is a house where all of these 80 people are taken care of. And it is seen that you are genuinely saying, making this wish, which you call prayer, out of love. It is not impossible that nature will choose to use you to implement that which you have already imagined in your mind to do. Those are the prayers. You did not directly pray that I want to own a house of 80 rooms. That was not the prayer. If the prayer was, I want to own a house of 80 rooms, Father, give me a house of 80 rooms, then it is a wrong prayer because it is self-motivated. All right? Because the difference is that the foundation on which that prayer is built, in your subconscious, what is there is you just want, like they will put it, to bring the glory to yourself. But if in your subconscious, you don't even care how it is done, you just want this thing genuinely done because you just weep out of pity, out of, what's the other word? Out of sympathy. You are okay, but you just wish, why would people suffer like this? Oh God, please. If that is the intention and it's really in your heart, then what is really, really likely is that the universe will now use you, because you are the one who saw it physically. You are the one who is making the connection spiritually for that thing that you imagine to come to bear. So if the universe is looking for who has imagined it, because it has to be first imagined before it can come to reality. They are going to get the picture in your mind, and then resources will now be made available for you to achieve it without you even knowing. I don't know if I digressed a bit from that.
No, you didn't.
But, so when we talk about prayers, I just wanted to emphasize that the prayer we should be talking about, and what I have in mind when I say good prayer, is not the regular prayer of me, do it for me, do it for me. Like we said, we are too tiny in this whole universal picture for prayers to be answered just for our sake. But prayer can be answered. Prayer that we said can be answered on behalf of 80 people. Because 80 people, even the second person, doesn't even have to be 80 on somebody else. Because of that love, we could be used as the avenue by which that prayer gets to that person. And in all of this, nobody is going to telephone you. Nobody is going to tell you that, oh, because you said it, we're not going to use it to do it. It will just happen. I mean, no, by your keeping of principle, even though you have free will, but you are still being directed by the principle that you are practicing and by the good wishes that you are releasing based on love. Lines are still falling to you in pleasant places. So it's not like you are just wandering and you wander into whatever comes your way. No, your principle is guiding you to the things that should be. So ultimately, you'll be led to the fulfillment of that prayer, and then you are wondering, but these are the same things that I wished 7 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago. And sometimes to come to the manifestation of this prayer, you might be taken away from the regular place to a different place geographically, a different place in terms of spiritually, a different place. I mean, your environment could just be changed. Sometimes you can even be taken away from the people that you know, just so that you can be built for this task that is ahead of you. The task that you have unconsciously brought to yourself. No, it's not a bad thing. that the task that you have unconsciously brought yourself into by the good wishes that you have, and then will prepare you and then release you back to go and do that same thing that you wished nature could do. So this is the way, these are the different ways that prayers work, especially prayers that are said on behalf of people. In other words, prayers where we offer ourselves without us really knowing that that's what we are doing, to be the one through whom such deliveries are made to those people.
All right. All right. So one of the things I've also noticed is I feel like communication with God back in the day, like do I say in the beginning, it seemed a lot easier. You know, from the Bible again, you know, there are chapters where you read about how God walked with this person, he spoke with this. It was so easy. Communicating and, you know, accessing God was so easy. Unlike now, you know, I think there's a whole lot of, I don't know what the hindrances are, you know, if it's personal, if it's our environment, or it just seems like it's more difficult right now. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I think so. I think so. And one already reason will be that there are so many more distractions now than we had then. All right, so that scale remains. So the scale of good and evil, the scale of flesh and spirit, the scale of material and spiritual.
Okay.
All right. So once you are enticed with the material, the glamour of the material, then automatically you are far from spiritual. And the way to connect with God and hear from God and fellowship with God and be in the presence of God is spirituality. It's by being spiritual. And practice of principle gets you to connect. And then, like we said, the climax of spirituality, where you are actually now sitting with God, always in the spirit and constantly. What is that height? Meditation.
Okay.
That's the highest for human.
Okay.
So by the time you wake up in the morning, I mean, if you were in the village where in my days of growing up, where there was little to do, you wake up in the morning, you're already in this pensive mood, and you're feeling connected with your environment, and even without being so religious about it, you are just close to spirituality by nature. If you compare that to modern times, especially in this developed world, with a lot of distractions, from Instagram to Facebook to you wake up in the morning, you have to go all out to go and hustle for the day. And so a lot of distraction. In fact, the distraction is so much that many are not even conscious of this other part called spirituality. Okay. So they just think life is just about, you know, just hustle, pay your bills. Typically in America, I mean, from Friday, Saturday, it's all club, it's all worldly enjoyment. And then Monday to Friday, it's all work, 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 work. So it's just the environment that we find ourselves. All right. So what we enjoy in creativity, we go into the knowledge world and we are given ideas, we come back into the world and then we build these ideas and they result in, I mean, awesome creation, things that you wouldn't think were possible only 50 years ago. They are now marvelously taken over. So you cannot enjoy all of that, which is like giving, and then not expect that it will be taken from you in some way. All right? I don't know if you got that, but I'm saying that, yes, on one hand, all of that is enjoyment, is advantage, technology is taking over, we are doing things that were not possible some 50, 35 years ago, but that is good. On the other hand, we are suffering for it because we are now distracted so much in the material that we do not even know about the spiritual anymore. And if we are not spiritual, there's no way we can hear the Spirit talking to us. There's no way. But the irony is, the people who get these ideas to bring to us and form this distraction from TV to all of the applications available on the internet to different works, forms of works that are available now, and then making all of the money, they also got these ideas from the Spirit. So they get the idea from the Spirit, manifest them in the material, and everybody. So it takes extra courage, extra consciousness to deliberately move away from all of these distractions and say, you know what, there is something bigger than this that I need to connect to. And not many of us have that luxury to take time off the normal of 9 to 5 work, and then use all weekend to chill and relax, and then back to work this. It's just like that. So not many of us have the luxury, right? So that's why it's like that. Unlike in those days when all of these distractions were not, only 50 years ago, we're not even talking about 200 years ago, distractions were less. You were literally living in nature where you have trees, you have birds, you have streams and mountains, and you would relate and you'll be awed and you would be impressed by, wow, what a creation. Whoever is behind this creation must be, you would have the closeness of nature to be able to think in the direction of, oh, there must be something bigger. But right now, everything is exactly the opposite of that. Everything is so materialistic that you do not even remember that there is something beyond material. Therefore, it is harder to hear and communicate with the Spirit. So hopefully messages like this should ring a bell and bring people to the conscious. Oh, is there something like that? Oh, how come I've not experienced it? Is that the reason this has been like this? Maybe I should give it a try. And then if it's just 1, 2, 3 persons that we're able to bring to this awakening, that's what it's called. Moving away from all of this materialistic, dull, relative to this other side, we think we're enjoying. But when we really come to see this other side, we feel, oh, this is the real enjoyment. All of that was just material. So it takes hearing at a minimal level. What it really takes is for something catastrophic, something not so pleasant to happen, to awaken you, to bring that awakening, to bring that consciousness. For the time being, hopefully messages like this are actually meant more for people who are at that level of at the level of that catastrophe, that's something not so pleasant happening. So messages is like this. It's not for people who feel, what is this man talking about? Everything he's talking about is not applicable to me. It's not for people like that. But for people who are here and have remained here, we are there to pull them up, to just give them a finger and lift them up by this message. So that's why I say it's not for everybody. Not for people who feel, well, what you are saying does not work, it works for me. Okay, that's fine. Not for you. But for a few people that were standing, the storm of life came, they are falling. All right? So the fallen can rise again. This is the message. Once they are able to awaken and connect, establish that connection, they will draw all of the energy, all of the power by knowledge that they need, not just to return to the level they were, but to go higher.
Okay. So do I conclude by saying that, what you just said now earlier about distractions we have here and there based on majorly technology, do we now erase the wrong perception, or do we now say this erases the wrong perception that a lot of people, religious people as well, or religious houses, who believe that this is just a way, this is an intentional way, to deviate people from certain consciousness or their spiritual consciousness, because that's actually what some people think.
Yeah, it's a right perspective, in my opinion, to look at it. It's not it's valid point.
Okay, so it's valid.
Yeah, for me, it's valid.
So it's intentional.
Intentional by who now? That's where differences now begin.
Intentional by the people who invent all of this, with the changes we're seeing every day, the rate at which the world is going, like globally, technologies, we see everything going. So, and you mentioned earlier that these people also get the inspiration, the power to do some of these things comes from the spirit, from within. Mm-hmm. So by saying that, so does that contradict what people believe? A lot of religious houses and some individuals believe that it's because that this is just an intentional way of distracting people from their spiritual, consciousness.
Yeah, it is obviously right to say so. So yeah,
okay.
I do agree that I mean, it's obvious that it's distracting. It's very distracting. Yeah, but the point I just wanted us to look at, but we don't necessarily have to, is intentional by who. The people who made them are just they were given. If they were not given the concept, the idea, and the no, they will not be able to implement it. As far as they are concerned, they have done something wow for mankind. They have made their own contribution. So it's all part of the game, but it is distracting. We cannot run away from that. It is distracting. It is more likely that somebody who is growing up in the village where he has access, where it's closer to nature, is likely to appreciate. No, not appreciate. It's likely to find communion more with nature than somebody like me who is in America, and then from the lifestyle, even as basic as eating organic food, where most of the food I have access to is non-organic, and everything else, from food to medicine to all of that. Yeah, even though on one hand, all of this is positive because technology has really made life easy, but wherever there is positivity, if you look closely, you find that it also carries its own negativity.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So the advantages are enormous, but yes, it has the disadvantage of distracting people from spirituality. That is obvious.